I've been noticing a new trend recently, shall we call it oppression cosplay, where people pretend to be from humble means or impoverished backgrounds, they pretend to be oppressed, all to get you to like and support them. They're kind of competing in the oppression Olympics, except they shouldn't even be there. They're like the trans athletes of the sport.
I think children's sports is next.
And today, we're gonna be calling them out because I'm not falling for it, and neither should you. So let's talk about it.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better.
Guys, before we get into today's video, please like and subscribe. Yes, let's talk about our little oppression cosplayers. Those people who are out there LARPing, being impoverished or oppressed. I feel like way back in the day, there used to be this pressure to pretend to be from an aristocratic family or pretend to know which fork or knife to use in a fine dining situation.
In the eyes of God, she belongs to Thomas Andrews.
It's all for me. Just start from the outside and work your way in.
And now people are pretending that they were born impoverished or from a third world country. And we're going to call out those pretenders right now, starting with one that I cannot run away from. This guy is on every single For You page. He's popping up in my algorithm. Everybody's talking about this possible next mayor of New York, Zoran Mamdani. Now here's a little PR clip of him talking about his background in a recent interview.
So the third holy grail of taboos in American politics, you have socialism, you have Islam, and then you have Palestine. And you are really going for the trifecta.
Let's go, baby.
Let's go. Tell me, why is Palestine a part of your politics?
When you grow up as someone, especially in the third world, you have a very different understanding of the Palestinian struggle.
When you grow up as someone, especially in the third world, Zoran says, as he eats his food with his fingers, which, hey, I'm not hating, I'm Nigerian, we do the same. But I have to look at that third world comment. Now, somebody else put out a tweet here. He says he grew up in the third world, but he was living in the United States, attending private school since he was 7 years old. That's not code switching, that's lying. He is a spoiled, privileged young man playing today's most popular parlor game, Look How Oppressed I Am. So I think I need to look into this. And what did we find out about Zoran Mamdani? Well, his mother is a multi-millionaire film director. His father is a millionaire Columbia professor. He attended a $60K a year school where nearly all of his classmates were fellow children of millionaires. And when he talks about growing up in the third world, he presumably is talking about being born in Uganda, where he was until he was 5. Then he moved over to Cape Town, South Africa, where he went to St. George's Grammar School, which is a private school. So he didn't even start private school at 7. He started it at 5. Now, his mother is such a large filmmaker that it is alleged she's turned down an opportunity to direct a Harry Potter film because she wanted to focus on films of an ethnic variety. So I guess his mother was just waiting on that HBO reboot. And his father in 2008 was, quote, voted as the 9th top public intellectual in the world on a list of top 100 public intellectuals by Prospect Magazine and Foreign Policy. But yes, as someone who grew up especially in the third world. But let's watch a few more little clips of Zoran now that we know a little bit more about his background.
Specifically growing up in South Africa post-apartheid, you know, it felt as if one of the most natural things to wear around my body was a keffiyeh. And so then to get here and see all of a sudden this topic was not only one that was discussed very differently, but was entirely taboo, it was a shock to my system. And for me, what made it central to my identity is that it is a glaring contradiction. We say we care about freedom and justice and self-determination, and yet for some reason we draw a line when it comes to Palestinians that accept them.
Growing up in post-apartheid South Africa, when he was there, as we mentioned before, from 5 to 7. Okay, or what about this next clip?
When you're a South Asian Muslim growing up in New York City, there aren't so many places where you can feel at home. And this is one of those avenues where, for me and for so many others, you can be yourself.
New York City, one of the most ethnically diverse areas in the United States as a whole. And as a South Asian, there aren't many places where you can feel at home. I don't know. Make it make sense. And you sure feel at home enough to make yourself mayor of New York City. So make it make sense. There are many ways to make it in American politics or to gain money, support, status, fame, but it seems like a new way that is opening up, and widely so, is to pretend to be othered, marginalized, oppressed, pretend to be from a place where you are not from, pretend that you are impoverished, pretend that you come from the humblest of humble backgrounds in order to I guess, relates to the American public because everyone feels othered and marginalized and oppressed. And how could one even deserve a position if they've not experienced being othered by the others, I guess? Now we're going to move on to our girl, AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who's also in New York City. She recently was talking to Donald Trump online, as per usual, and she said this. Also, I'm a Bronx girl. You should know that we can eat Queens boys for breakfast, respectfully. Now, guys, did you notice anything off about that tweet? Yes, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is not from the Bronx. Now, many people decided to point this out, one of them being Michael Knowles, who tweeted out a map, which is actually extremely helpful. He said, the town in blue is the suburb that I grew up in. The town in red is the richer, whiter suburb that AOC grew up in. The area in the black circle way down at the bottom is the Bronx. So it turns out AOC is not actually a Bronx girl that eats Queens boys for breakfast. So why would she lie about that? And I think somebody summed it up quite well in a tweet response that says, what you have to realize about the communist class in America is that they are all bored, privileged theater kids with nothing better to do than destroy Western civilization. None of them actually grew up hard knocks. Much like Zoran Mamdani, who moved out of Uganda when he was 5 years old, AOC was born in the Bronx and moved out when she was 5 years old. These are becoming, I don't know, what I like to call their narrative neighborhoods. People take this little kernel of truth from their past and then use it to build this whole sort of character arc around it, where she's a Bronx girl who at some point between the ages of 0 and 5 was eating Queens boys for lunch. Please. Be so fucking for real right now. In reality, as we can see evidenced in this picture, despite her Bronx girl's claims, AOC graduated from a suburban Yorktown high school in 2007 as Sandy Cortez. And AOC has clearly shifted the way she talks about this geographical location of upbringing as she gets called out on it more. She said, quote, growing up between the Bronx and Yorktown deeply shaped my views of inequality. And it's a big reason I believe the things I do today. So did you grow up in the Bronx or did you grow up between the Bronx and Yorktown? I don't know. And the communist theater kid thing is really working for AOC. Do you guys remember when she went to the border and did that whole fake crying photo op with her fingers like gripping like claws through the fence about all the poor immigrants who wanted to be in America? Or when she did the fake handcuff stunt where she pretended to be arrested at this whole thing that was happening? Or in 2021 when she tweeted out the photo of her grandmother's dilapidated home where she was living after it had been impacted by a hurricane that happened in 2017, and everybody was like, AOC, why aren't you helping your grandma? Our little rough and tumble Bronx girl is really committed to the bit. So it's lie, half-truth. Am I relatable? Please, please, please. I'm impoverished, I'm poor, I'm oppressed. And it even manifests physically for them. Some of these people are code switching when they're not code switching. They're changing their accents to be more relatable to the crowd that they're speaking to. And AOC has been one to do this. Let's watch the clip.
There was times of economic opportunity. Wages rose until the 1970s.
I'm proud to be a bartender. Ain't nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with working retail, folding clothes for other people to buy. There is nothing wrong with preparing the food that your neighbors will eat.
Okay, Martin Luther. Like, what are you talking about? We know she doesn't talk like that. We know she's never spoken like that. In her 5 years in the Bronx, I don't think she picked up any AAVE. So what is she doing? And she's not the only one to do this, okay? And it's all part of the oppression, cosplay, LARPing, whatever it is that they're doing. Kamala Harris was one to do this many times on the campaign trail. Let's watch her video. And this one's a compilation.
Hello to all my divine nine brothers and sisters. And my soror.
Oh, goodness.
And to all my HBCU brothers and sisters. You better thank a union member for sick leave. You better thank a union member for paid leave. You better thank a union member for vacation time.
Oh, man. Girl.
Because what we know, let's just get through the next 64 days. How about that?
How about that?
And you all helped us win in 2020, and we're going to do it again in 2024.
Okay. Need I say more? Need I say more? You know what? I'll throw one more in just to really drive it home for Kamala Harris. Remember when she said in college she was listening to Tupac Shakur, but it turns out Tupac Shakur's first album wasn't even out until 5 years after she graduated college? This is what I'm talking about, y'all. And if it's not your politicians trying to tap into relatability core or poverty core, it's your celebrities. Let's look at Pedro Pascal. Here's Pedro talking about the protection of immigrants at Cannes.
I want people to be safe and to be protected, and I want very much to live on the right side of history. And I'm an immigrant. My parents are refugees from Chile. I myself was a refugee. We fled a dictatorship, and I was privileged enough to grow up in the U.S. and after asylum in Denmark. And if it weren't for that, I don't know what would have happened to us. And so I stand by those protections.
We'll get to the anxiety in a second. Yes, Pedro Pascal was a refugee, but it's interesting how he just throws that term out there without really clearing up the status or the background of his family in particular, considering, and let me read this, they were members of the Castilian Basque aristocracy in Chile. His mother was a child psychologist and his dad a fertility doctor, and they were well-known communists, and I guess their communist agenda actually flew in the face of Pinochet's, and that's why they had to leave Chile and go to Denmark, then to the United States. So I have a feeling if they were not granted access to the United States, Pedro Pascal and his family would have been just fine. So yeah, Pedro Pascal is a refugee and we can totally give him oppression points for that, but like aristocratic refugee much? And it's not just the whole refugee thing with Pedro Pascal. He's spoken at length about being anxious and needing to hold somebody's hand or I guess rub his belly or something like that to alleviate his anxiety. And we have this clip that's been circulating online for quite some time. It has 36 million views on X right now. And this is him doing, I guess, one of the measures that he takes to alleviate his anxiety whilst on stage. Ah, yes, I must touch the arm of and hold the hand of this beautiful actress who's standing next to me in order to alleviate my anxiety.
It's not a vape. All right, it's an anxiety pin, and God, the amount of times that I've asked you to respect me and respect my anxiety pin is...
Somebody get this guy an anxiety pen. Let's take a look at this video of Pedro Pascal, or this Vanity Fair cover of Pedro Pascal. Does this strike you as somebody who is socially anxious? I think not. But just like an autism diagnosis, or a label of being neurodivergent, it's really in right now. And lastly, in our world of oppression make-believe, we have Whoopi Goldberg, who had this little spat recently on The View where she said being a black person is just as hard as being a person in Iran.
And it's slow.
But let's just remember, too, the Iranians literally throw gay people off of buildings. They don't adhere to basic human rights.
Listen, here's the thing. Let's not do that, because if we start with that, we have been known in this country to tie gay folks to the car.
Where the Iranian regime is today in 2025 is nothing compared to the United States.
Hanging black people. So
it is not even the same. I couldn't step foot wearing this.
Wait. That's not what you mean to say. It is the same.
No, it's not. The year 2025 in the United States is nothing like if I step foot wearing this outfit into Iran.
Listen, I'm sorry.
I can't have my hair showing. I can't wear a skirt. I can't have my arms out.
I'm telling you,
I literally said it was up to the Iranian people.
Yes,
it is up to them.
And that's why I am saying that it is the same.
So there you go. We have example after example after example of this happening, and I'm wondering, why is it happening? Of course, there's this overwhelming need to feel relatable to everyone at all times, and the way we do that now is through, I guess, trying to collect as many oppression points as possible. But I have to think that there's something more than that going on. And maybe it's what we believe people deserve in this day and age, that you cannot deserve status or fame or a political position without having gone through something that people deem to be oppressive. You have to sort of earn your stripes, earn your ability to be in a position that others are not in. And if you haven't lived an impoverished or oppressed lifestyle, people think you don't deserve the lifestyle that you currently have. Oppression has become a new form of currency, and these people's bills are counterfeit, I tell you that. But apparently you get to start ahead in today's world by starting behind. This is how you get the girl who grew up in the Bronx, or the guy who grew up in a third world country, or you better thank a union member for sick leave, because they have to make you feel as though they know your background, and if they don't, they have to make you feel as though they've had a worse upbringing than yours. The most extreme of those examples being Whoopi Goldberg pretending or actually even convincing herself that black people in America have it just as bad as those living in Iran. Yeah, Whoopi Goldberg with a $60 million net worth is truly oppressed, and it's just as bad as those living in Iran. Now, interestingly enough, Whoopi Goldberg actually grew up in the projects here in the United States. So she has a humble beginning story to lean on, and it's still not enough. We must dig deeper. We must have something worse. We must have something more oppressive. And why? Oftentimes we find in digging into these people's backgrounds or their personalities or just like who they are as people, they lack narrative. And one thing that a theater kid needs is narrative. And they give themselves some pretty interesting ones, as we can see in this video. And when you believe in something like critical race theory or critical feminist theory, you are taught that every single facet of what you experience in this world has to do with oppression, racism, misogyny, fat phobia, goes on and on and on. So if everything is about those things, your story must be about those things too. So we're going to really drive home the fact that we grew up in Uganda, or drive home the fact that we were born in the Bronx, even though we went to Yorktown and were called Sandy Cortez right after that. We're going to drive home how hard it is to be black in America. We're going to really rev up that accent that we're not accustomed to. Because if life and experience and all of our human psyche is about oppression and how much we've experienced, I better make sure I let people know that I've experienced it, even if I haven't. Now, I can go on and on about this, and we could find more examples, and we could try to find more explanations as to why this is happening. But at the heart of this is probably the message that your ideas, so long as they are good ideas and helpful ideas, should be enough. That who you actually are, your true story, your true narrative is enough. You don't need the fakery, the fake accents, the fake background, the fake oppression points in order to compete in the Olympics. In fact, there shouldn't even be an oppression Olympics. Everybody should just be who they actually are. And if you have ideas or talent that drives you forward or gets you a certain political position, then so be it. There shouldn't be this need to cushion who you actually are with fakeness in order to be relatable or to come off in a certain light. Yeah, I disagree with these people on ideas, but that's one thing. It's normal to disagree with people on ideas and on issues, but the fact that they're lying on top of that and trying to be something that they're not is a whole nother level of disrespect. Just be you, sis. I promise it's okay. And you will hinder the promotion of your ideas when you fake who you are as a person. It makes your ideas come off as far more sinister when you have to pretend to be somebody you're not in order to peddle them. I am not buying what they're selling. I hope you're not either. And the fact that they're selling it means there's a market for it. And if there's a market for it, they're making a whole lot of money or something or other for faking these stories. And if you are somebody like AOC or like Zohran Mamdani, who's in a position to talk about oppression, to talk about poverty, to talk about the third world experience, why pretend to live it? Instead, shouldn't you elevate the voices of those who have actually experienced it and use your position and your pedestal to bring up somebody else rather than use it for your own fake narrative? Something's not right here. Something's afoot, okay? We're being bamboozled, and they would have gotten away with it too if it weren't for these meddling people on the internet who are willing to call them out and find out their actual background. So guys, those are my thoughts on the oppression cosplayers, LARPers, whatever it is we want to call them. Drop your thoughts in the comments down below. As always, I encourage healthy debate, so do get out but do so respectfully if you disagree with anything said in this video. And if you like this video, like, subscribe, click the notification bell to be notified every single time I post a video for you guys, which is every day. And I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better.